After seeing husband with mistress, woman filed for divorce without telling him about her pregnancy. February 14th. Today was the day Isla found herself back in the city, and as if by fate, she unexpectedly ran into her ex-husband. Isla, hello. Aaron's voice carried a tone that seemed almost too casual for such an unforeseen encounter. I didn't expect to see you here. How have you been? Where are you living now? She answered his questions effortlessly, surprised by how composed her voice sounded. Only once did she falter, perhaps due to the unexpected nature of their meeting, when she unintentionally revealed the city she now called home. Aaron suggested they sit at a nearby pizzeria, but Isla politely declined, claiming she was short on time. Yet, his final question almost caught her off guard. Do you ever regret not forgiving me back then? Aaron asked, his voice softer than before. It's all in the past. Why bring it up again? She responded. Without waiting for an answer, she quickly said goodbye and got into a cab, one she didn't even really need. She had no desire to relive those memories, but her mind, stubborn as ever, pulled her back to that fateful Valentine's Day evening. Exactly 7 years ago, she had called her husband that afternoon to arrange a romantic dinner at a small cafe near their home. Aaron, with what sounded like genuine regret, explained that he had already scheduled important meetings and would have to postpone. Isla wasn't too disappointed. She knew her husband was a busy and successful businessman. Yet, on this particular day, which had always been special to her, she longed to spend even a little time with him, to share the incredible news that had been making her heart race since morning. After work, Isla decided to walk home, allowing herself time to reflect on her life's changing course and her new reality. Along the way, she felt a sudden urge to send Aaron a playful message, hinting at a surprise. She sat on a bench and began typing. Then, as she lifted her gaze, she noticed a car parked in front of the cafe. It looked exactly like Aaron's. As if in slow motion, she watched him step out of the vehicle, walk around to the other side, and open the passenger door. He extended his hand to a stunning young woman in a delicate, almost weightless white dress. They took a few steps together, laughing, before sharing a kiss. Isla remained frozen on the bench, as if paralyzed. Strangely, she wasn't even thinking. She simply sat there, watching the cafe doors close behind the joyful couple. When the cold finally seeped into her skin, she forced herself to stand and wander home. Only when she crossed the threshold of what she had once called her safe haven did she break down in tears. What followed was a swift, chaotic divorce. Aaron pleaded desperately for forgiveness, but Isla had already buried any hope for their marriage. Without a second thought, she left for her hometown, cutting all ties with him. There, she found temporary refuge in her late mother's apartment, a place that had remained empty since her passing a couple of years earlier. But even in her childhood city, Isla never felt truly at peace. So, without hesitation, she sold the property and moved to a neighboring state, where her aunt lived. She bought a comfortable apartment and slowly began rebuilding her life. Isla and Aaron had known each other since school. During her high school years, she secretly admired a charming classmate. However, he never paid attention to the skinny, snub-nosed girl whose only striking feature was her thick, waist-length braid. Eventually, wanting to follow the latest trends, Isla decided to cut her long hair and opted for a stylish bob. The new look suited her far better. Older boys and classmates began showing interest in her. Yet, she remained indifferent, her thoughts still revolving around Aaron. Isla never allowed herself to dream of mutual feelings. Aaron had a bright future ahead. He excelled in his studies and was destined for a prestigious university. His parents were influential by the standards of their small city, ensuring he had every opportunity for success. Isla, on the other hand, came from a modest family. Although she consistently earned good grades, she was quiet, studious, and not particularly active in school events. She was just an ordinary student. Everyone believed that Aaron needed someone exceptional by his side. Yet, despite his privileged background, he was genuinely kind and responsible. Everything changed during the summer after graduation. Tragedy struck both of them around the same time. After a long battle with illness, Islaw's father passed away. Shortly after, Aaron lost both of his parents in a devastating car accident. At the funeral, their classmates gathered to offer their support. Some awkwardly patted Aaron on the shoulder, while others gave him quick, uncertain hugs. He barely reacted. Only Isla, who had just mourned her own father weeks before, allowed herself to cry, resting her head against Aaron's shoulder. Perhaps it was their shared grief that brought them closer. Following his parents' wishes, Aaron left for the capital to study at a prestigious university. Meanwhile, Isla stayed in her hometown and attended a local college. For years, they exchanged heartfelt letters. Eventually, Aaron proposed, and Isla happily accepted. They got married. Those were the happiest times of their lives. They started in a small rented apartment, with Aaron taking his first steps in business. His initial struggles soon turned into achievements. His first big success, his first car, their first home, their first vacation abroad. They lived in perfect harmony, inseparable, cherishing every moment together. Years passed in this blissful rhythm. Their 10th wedding anniversary coincided with a trip back to their hometown, as Isla's mother needed care after a complicated surgery. One evening, the elderly woman hesitated before asking her son-in-law why they still hadn't considered having children. "We're just too busy," Aaron replied casually. But for the first time, the question lingered in his mind. Why were they still childless? Isla had silently struggled with that thought for a long time. She had never actively prevented pregnancy, yet it never happened. What followed was a lengthy journey. Endless medical tests, consultations with top specialists, and every doctor delivering the same puzzling conclusion. Both of them were perfectly healthy. There was no logical explanation. With no answers, they resigned themselves to fate. The topic became unspoken, a silent agreement never to bring it up again. Still, Isla couldn't help but feel an ache in her heart when she saw her friends' children growing up. She occasionally noticed Aaron's gaze lingering on kids playing in the park, a longing flickering in his eyes. But there was nothing she could do. Over time, she forced herself to let go of the pain. She immersed herself in work. Not because she needed to, but because numbers and calculations provided an escape from reality, helping her forget the emptiness she sometimes felt. Then, 7 years ago, in February, something changed. For days, Isla had been waking up with strange discomfort, nausea, dizziness, and unexplained weakness. A quiet hope bloomed in her heart. She bought the most expensive and accurate pregnancy tests available. The morning after Aaron left for work, she locked herself in the bathroom, her hands trembling with anticipation. One by one, the tests revealed the same undeniable truth, 2 bright lines. She was pregnant. That was the surprise she had planned to share with her husband over dinner that evening. But before she could, she discovered his betrayal. After selling her parents' apartment, Isla settled into her new home just in time to give birth to a healthy baby girl, whom she named Ella. Ella was an easy, trouble-free child. She slept soundly, ate well, rarely fell ill, and was remarkably advanced for her age. She had an adorable, charming nature, and every feature of her face bore a striking resemblance to Aaron, except for her hair. Thick, long, and breathtakingly beautiful, it was an unmistakable inheritance from her mother. A familiar voice suddenly broke through Isla's thoughts. "I knew I would find you here. There's no other train heading in your direction today." Startled, Isla's hand jerked, spilling coffee onto the table. A few droplets landed on her coat. "I didn't expect to see you again today," she muttered, hastily grabbing paper napkins to dab at the stains. It was pointless. The marks wouldn't come out. Sighing, she apologized and hurried to the bathroom, taking her purse with her but leaving behind her phone on the table. 10 minutes later, having composed herself and tidied her coat, Isla returned. "And," She barely recognized Aaron. He sat motionless, his face pale, lips quivering. In his hands, he held her phone. The familiar ringtone echoed softly, a special melody set for incoming calls from her daughter. On the screen, a bright, high-quality photo of a beaming Ella glowed. Isla's heart pounded. She lunged forward, snatching the phone from her ex-husband's grasp. Desperately, she tried to decline the call, but her hands betrayed her, trembling uncontrollably. After several failed attempts, she finally managed to silence the ringtone. Then, with a deep breath, she sank into the chair across from Aaron, feeling completely drained. A daughter? I have a daughter, Aaron murmured, his voice hovering between a question and a realization. How could you keep this from me? Isla remained silent. She wasn't ready for this conversation. Not now, not ever. Aaron exhaled sharply. Isla, I know I was cruel back then. I was a coward, and I've paid for it. I've been punishing myself ever since. I live alone. No matter how many temporary relationships I tried, none of them could erase my memories of you. His voice cracked slightly before he continued, now with raw emotion. But our daughter, why did you keep her from me? Why should she grow up without a father? What did she do to deserve that? His tone turned bitter. What story did you tell her? That her father was a heroic pilot who died in a crash? A fearless explorer lost in the Arctic? His eyes bore into hers. Why Isla's? Isla's mind was blank. Not a single word came to her lips. Nothing she could say to justify her choices. But one truth rang loud and clear in her heart. She had never stopped loving him. Not for a second. You can argue all you want, Aaron said firmly, breaking the silence. But I'm coming with you. Then, shaking his head with a soft sigh, he added, his voice gentler, almost affectionate, Oh, my dear Isla. And Isla smiled, because no one had called her that in a long, long time.